Hook it and cook it. From the catch to the kitchen, it's your front row seat to learn mouth-watering new ways to fix seafood. It's time for Hook It and Cook It.
Hello, I'm Frank Willem. Welcome to another episode of Hook It and Cook It. Today we're cooking up a cedar plank speckled trout dish that'll knock your socks off. But first, we gotta go hook it. So let's get to it. Inshore fishing for speckled trout is popular, and with good reason. The fish are plentiful, with millions caught each year in the Gulf Coast region alone, and they're often found in easy-to-get-to places. Actually, speckled, or spotted trout as they're sometimes called, is a misnomer. The fish aren't really trout, but rather are members of the drum family. And you don't need a lot of expensive gear to catch them. One common technique is to use light tackle and a popping cork with either artificial or natural bait beneath it. Since they generally school, it takes patience. But when you finally get on them, the action can get intense. Seeing that cork disappear is certain to make your heart race. Speckled trout average about 1 to 2 pounds, but they can reach upwards of 5 to 10, with a world record over 17 pounds. These big trout prefer mullet and will eat fish up to 2/3 their own size. And before long, you've caught dinner. And that's the best part. Speckled trout taste great. Their meat is flaky and mild, and so delicate that some folks like to scale them and leave the skin on. I'm guessing most of these fish end up in hot oil coated with fish fry. But today, we're going to show you an easy way to cook them that's simple, but guaranteed to impress your friends. Well, that was fun catching speckled trout, almost always is. Now we've got a special guest that's going to cook it up for us. It's not Emerald Lagasse, but we're going to channel Emerald, and we'll explain how all that works in our next segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Hook It and Cook It. I mentioned that we were going to channel Emerald Lagasse, and what I meant by that is we're at the Lynn Meadows Discovery Center kitchen that he designed. But not only did he design the kitchen, but he trained our next chef, Thomas Genin, who's going to cook us a dish called the cedar plank speckled trout that'll knock your socks off. And he's here to cook it right now. Alrighty, Thomas, well, let's get started with your cedar plank speckled trout. What's first?
Man, the first thing is you need to make sure that you have the best and the freshest fish. Anytime you cook fish, you want the absolute freshest and the most high quality that you can get. From your local fisherman, your local harbor, seafood market, wherever you can get it. If you catch it, cook it immediately. Every day, the quality goes down. And you can watch fresh fish deteriorate in your refrigerator. For all of us fishermen, we know what that's all about, right? So this dish, when we talked about doing some little fishing, cooking episodes, this is, in my mind, the funnest, easiest, and most unique dish that I've done in my restaurant career. It's easy to produce at home for a party, for a fancy dinner party or a casual party. So the first thing that we do is you need to get some cedar planks. This is a 1x6 untreated redwood cedar fence board.
Just like you get at the lumber yard.
Home Depot, Lowe's, a hardware store. You know, you can also go to Williams and Sonoma, and they're already cut.
Pay a little bit more.
Right. They're burned with Williams and Sonoma on there, and they're $5 a piece. These are 65 cents a piece. But you know, whatever works. So you get your cedar planks, okay, and then we'll just set this right here next to the flames. And then we get our speckled trout fillets, which you can see, these were caught this morning. I picked these up on the way down here from the Pasquistan Harbor, a friend of mine. I told him to hold me back some fish. And it's just a boneless, skinless fillet of speckled trout, okay? And then what we're gonna do is, you can see the fillet is longer than the board. So we're gonna cut the fillet to make sure that it fits on the board. Because with this dish, the board is actually going to be what you eat it off of. There's no sense in cooking it on the board and then putting it off onto a plate. So what I always do is just cut the fillet in half and then kind of turn it. And this is what's going to go on the plank. Okay, so if you could, you get our 2 planks.
Okay.
Now, so we've got our fish cut and we know that they're gonna fit on the plank and not hang off the side.
Right.
There's a rough cut side and a smooth side. We want the smoothest side down onto the burner.
Okay.
If we're outside using a gas grill, it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
Put the plank on the flame, let it catch on fire. As soon as it catches on fire, you flip it over. We're gonna put the fish fillet on top of the board, and then we're gonna season the fillet with extra virgin olive oil, the highest quality olive oil you can have.
Does it really make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. Like anything, the better quality ingredient, the better quality end result. So our boards are catching on fire. Okay, you can see the flames coming around the side, right? Starting to smoke. So our planks are on fire. You can see it around the edge, right? Okay, so next step, and this is where it gets fun. We've got the char, we've got the flavor, okay? We're gonna put the filet directly on the cedar. And I always like to use a thin, relatively thin cut of fish for this. If you had amberjack or snapper or something and it was a bigger fish, just cut the filet in half. Make it thin to where it cooks fast.
And get more of the flavor infused into
cooks,
it. Yeah.
And when we put it into the oven, the smoke will lightly scent and season the outside of that meat. And then look how simple this is. Little olive oil. And then this is a spice blend that we make. I was telling you about this earlier, Frank. We're gonna start selling this. It's in production. We're just waiting on the label.
But you're gonna give us a recipe, right?
I will, yes. This is
the recipe for the spice blend now?
I'll give you what's in it, and we'll let you figure out the quantities without, you know, sending it to a food lab or anything like that.
Fair enough. Scott wouldn't even give us that much.
Yeah, well, we'll tell you what's in it, just not the ratios of what's in it. So here you go, that's it.
Great.
Now, next step, and if you like lemons, use lemons. If you like limes, use limes. If you don't like lemons or limes, don't use anything. But I like to put lime on top. And then we're gonna put a piece of lime on top of each filet. This goes into the oven, preferably a convection oven, 370 to 425 degrees, depending on your oven and how hot it gets. 10 to 12 minutes, pull it out, eat it. When we pull this out the oven, I'm gonna show you how to make a jumbo lump crab meat relish.
And about how much those fillets weigh roughly?
These are probably 6 to 8 ounce fillets. If we had really small fillets, we'd just use a fillet and a half, maybe put 3 pieces on there. All right.
All right, let's put it in the oven.
Put them in the oven.
When did you first start doing this dish?
Pre-Katrina at Tigres.
I remember Tigres.
Let's see, 2002, we started selling this.
You know, a lot of people are not aware of your history in this. In fact, I did a little teaser earlier about we're going to channel Emerald today because Emerald designed this kitchen. You're probably aware of that.
Yeah.
But Emerald had a little something to do with your career too, didn't he?
He did. My first real restaurant job was at Emerald's on Chapatoulas in New Orleans. I started there in 1998, right out of high school. Fell in love with it. Worked there up until he renovated in 2001, and then moved back to Mississippi.
You feel like you learned a lot working with him?
I learned everything there. That was that puts you into the real world. You take what you learn in culinary school, and that's your book knowledge. And then, you know, I loved every part of it.
But then you came from Tigres, and that was, I mean, high end, about as high end as you can get. I thought it was excellent.
It was.
And then you went kind of the other extreme, didn't you?
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, Katrina, you know, it flattened the coast, flattened the restaurant, washed it across the street. And I now wear a t-shirt to work and not a chef coat. So I traded my chef coat in for a t-shirt. I wear flip-flops and fish a lot. And when I can, cook and play and give away and cook at the restaurant what we catch, like we've done before.
Would you say that you took some of the lessons you learned as far as the quality of food and how to prepare it that you learned at Tigres and with Emerald, and then applied that to Blind Tiger, but downscaled in terms of simplicity? Is
Absolutely,
that a fair?
man.
Okay.
You know, I've done everything from the high-end Emerald's type restaurants to my own high-end restaurants now. My new concept, the Blind Tiger, is a bar with food, and you're not going to find a menu. You're not going to find a formal tablecloth or table setting, but what you will find is extremely fresh food, nothing processed, and we have no menu.
Why no menu?
Because we kind of make what we feel like based off of what's available. We have chalkboards. One chalkboard stays the same. Cheeseburgers, fish sandwiches, fish tacos, hand-cut French fries, nothing frozen, we don't have a freezer. Then we have another chalkboard with all of our daily specials.
And that's driven by what's available.
That's exactly right. You might see cedar plank speckled trout on there, you might see grilled yellowfin tuna, you might see pulled pork tacos.
You do some pretty nice royal reds I've had down there. Yeah.
We do. Every day we steam the fresh shrimp, the royal red tails, and it's been working well. So it's casual, it's fun, but the food, we don't compromise, and it's all fresh. Nothing frozen.
When we come back, Thomas is going to prepare a crab meat relish for the topping of the trout, and he's also got an interesting wine pairing that you'll want to hear about. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Hook It and Cook It. Well, the trout's been cooking on that cedar plank now for about 10 minutes. It's time to bring it out of the oven and give it the taste test. Alrighty, well, it's been about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It ought to be ready. Let's take it out.
Yeah, it's been exactly 10 minutes. You ready? Oh yeah. Look at that.
Oh man.
Check that out. See that? The limes kind of caramelize and get brown on top. All that fresh lime juice goes down over the fish. And we have, this is a picture perfect example of what cedar planked speckled trout should look like. And I have a strong suspicion it's going to taste exactly how it should too.
Now, what do you have to go on top here today? A crab relish, you said?
What we're going to do, yeah, we have, again, you know, we can source all this stuff locally. So,
but you just serve it on the cedar plank. You don't take it off the put it on the plate, right?
We just put it on a little white china plate to where the servers can bring it to the table, and then but you eat it directly off of the plank. And we explain that to people too.
And one advantage you said is you can prepare this ahead of time and just pop it in the oven when you and your guests are ready to eat, right?
Yes.
So for our viewers out there, this is an easy dish that ends up looking really impressive, and yet it's not that complicated.
And you know, it's also a great alternative to the, hey, let's not fry it. You know, I mean, that's another big thing that I'm really trying to keep my crew focused on is it's, the only thing we fry at the Blind Tiger are French fries, and they're homemade. They're not greasy, and we shred potatoes ourselves. But, you know, it's like, for the same amount of effort, maybe even less, you don't have to fry it. Everybody's frying trout. Everybody's frying food. Everybody, you know, everybody's had that. This is unique and it's easy. And for entertaining, it's perfect.
It looks good, it's healthy.
Whatever you want to do. Yeah, so to finish this dish tonight, what we're going to do is we have, again, fresh, never frozen, hand-picked jumbo lump crab meat.
You can tell a big difference a crab that's been frozen, right? It kind of gets a little bit watery.
Well, and it falls apart, yeah. And if you taste it fresh and then you come back and taste it after it's been thawed out, it's like night and day. And I think that's the case with anything. Chicken, probably not, that's about it. But fish, seafood, shrimp, crab meat, anything that you freeze will lose quality when you thaw it out. And you know, this is probably 2 tablespoons of fresh crab meat. Okay, now watch how easy this is. All right, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of olive oil. Again, extra virgin. You see the color of that? Extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna put a little parsley in here. And then,
and that was fresh parsley you cut up, right? Yeah.
Yes. Don't use dried parsley for stuff like this. Dried parsley is meant to be used in like red gravies and gumbos.
You're cooking, like
yeah. And then watch. Fresh lime juice. And that's it. In my opinion, anything past this point, you start taking away from the quality and the real flavor of the crab meat. You know, you could put some red onion in there if you wanted, maybe even a little cilantro, but that's about it. You could do the same thing with shrimp. Boil them, grill them, chill them, cut them up. You could add some shrimp to this, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with this dish when you taste it. And again, I've done it all. High-end white tablecloth to bar with food and chalkboards. And this is fresh, and I have not had anybody that's eaten it or ordered it tell me they haven't enjoyed it.
Well, it's simple, it's healthy.
That's right.
And it's impressive looking.
I think so.
Now, what about something to go with it?
We have my general manager, Scott. He's here, and he's going to pour us a glass of white wine, an Albarino, Central Coast California wine, and it pairs perfectly with a fresh fish dish like this.
We have Scott Sullivan here. We have Scott Sullivan here, and he's a sommelier that was been at several establishments here on the coast, right, Scott?
Right. And now he's at the Blind Tiger Bar with Food, and he has also just implemented a chalkboard. We have a third chalkboard that I forgot to mention. We have another chalkboard now with all of our bottles of wine that are specifically designed to go with the fare and the fresh food that we're selling. And that, again, changes all the time as well. So try this out, Frank. Let's see. See how this is. We'll try the fish and then take a sip of the wine.
Boy, you can really smell the cedar. Oh, man.
Look at that.
Listen, it's so flaky.
And in 10 minutes, and the other thing that I like about this is there's nothing to clean.
You just
after this is gone, you throw the plank in the
rinse off the
garbage
plate,
can.
throw that.
That's it. How did we do?
It tastes as good as it smells.
It really does smell good, doesn't it?
That is awesome. So simple.
It's like a light smoke. You know.
That is very, very good. Now let me try your wine suggestion here. That is excellent.
Good?
That is excellent. That's a good pairing.
That is.
Well, I'll tell you what, you outdid yourself. I've eaten a lot of meals at Tigre's, and I'll tell you what, I think it may be simple, but it's at least as good as anything I've ever had at Tigre's. You outdone yourself once again.
And it's half the price of the Blind Tiger.
Now,
I
Trout.
have tablecloths to pay for.
And Trout, of course, you know, that's one of the things we're fortunate to be able to catch here locally.
We do.
You caught a bunch of those. In fact, maybe you and I will get out there again. We've done some fishing before. That's one of the things that surprised me is that the first time you went fishing with us, I didn't know about your background. You've been out on boats a lot fishing, right?
Absolutely, man. My one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had was in high school. I was a deckhand for a local shipyard out of New Orleans that had an entertainment barge, and they would seaplane customers out. We'd let them fish and party and hang out. We'd cook for them at night, seaplane them back.
Well, I was surprised because you sure handled yourself well on the boat. I mean, you knew your way around, that's for sure. Yeah, and speckled trout, now you were going to tell us a little bit about some tips on that.
The speckled trout season, every year in January 1st, New Year's Day, the Mississippi speckled trout commercial quota is renewed. As soon as 40,000, I think it's 40,000 pounds again this year. As soon as 40,000 pounds have been caught in Mississippi waters, the commercial trout season shuts down. That doesn't mean you can't get it, it just makes it more of a challenge and the price goes up. So, you know, again, with no menu, chalkboards, seasonal items, you know, somewhere around March, we'll start buying fresh fish, it's fresh trout, and typically right now, mid-June, first part of July, mid-July, the quota's met and the season closes. Price goes up, we start using other things, like redfish or amberjack, maybe lemon fish. So we really try to stick to the seasonality aspect of things.
Well, great. I think you picked a great wine and great fish. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today.
Yeah, man. Now we just need to find time to go fishing.
Let's do it.
All right.
What a great dish. Stay tuned for more Hook It and Cook It. We'll be right back. You learned how to cook a great cedar plank speckled trout dish, and join us next week. We've got another interesting dish lined up for you won't want to miss. Thanks for joining us this week on Hook It and Cook It.